Welcome everyone back to Midnight Sports Talk, the podcast and talk show of Midnight Sports Today. I'm very happy to be joined by a special guest. He's currently the offensive coordinator at Pro City High School. He's a former player, and he just got done coaching in the Polynesian Bowl. Welcome to the show, Samson Anguay.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Well, let's just jump right into it. So, what have you been up to recently?
Just coaching, of course. Planning me and my wife's wedding, obviously, trying to get that all done. Running Team Icy, our 7-on-7 team, helping the local boys out here. Working at Pro City with the boys and they're recruiting for our seniors. Was blessed to be invited by Rich Miano and them and Ma'atanu Vasa and Jesse Sapolo them to coach in the Polynesian Bowl with some of the best athletes and some really great coaches, like Doug Williams and June Jones. So it's football's year round for me. It's kind of one thing that I love doing football and coaching and staying close to the community. So it's all year round for me.
Absolutely. And talking about you being surrounded by such legends of the gridiron, what was it like? Because you were assistant coach under Coach Jones. What was it like to see him and learn under him from a coaching perspective?
It was good. It's just growing up, you wanted to play for you want to play for a legendary coach like that. What he did with Cole Brennan and those guys going 13-0. Also, it's pretty good to hear the backstories about the University of Hawaii on that era when I was in high school, of course, trying to be recruited. Just taking pointers and tips. You're surrounded by really good coaches like Abu Ma'afala Kamehameha, Matt Wright, who's the DC at Kamehameha, Chad Owens, of course, trained with him when I was in high school, got to coach with him on the sideline. Oh man, so much legends at that bowl game that you get to hear their testimonies and their ideas, their philosophies, and how it can improve your game. So it was actually really fun, not gonna lie.
No, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun for those players as well. Can you talk about the talent that was on the field and what were you most impressed with?
I was just most impressed of how fast they could pick up the game. It's a lot of different talent from all over, from Hawaii to the mainland, East Coast, West Coast, and you can just tell, of course, they're 3-star, 5-star, 4-star athletes because they can pick up the game really, really quick. It's just something where you look at them and you tell them one thing and you have to repeat yourself. They call him T-Mac, the receiver out of Servite, local boy. Man, it was such a pleasure to coach that kid. And then you have Travis Hunter, who's on the other side, right? The number one recruit in the country. Really respectful guy. Really good to meet him and hear his testimony. So being surrounded by all of that talent was actually pretty fun.
Wow, I didn't know Travis Hunter was on the team and he was playing. So obviously he made big headlines where he decommitted from Florida State and ended up joining Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Did he talk about that experience at all and what was the driving force behind deciding to switch commitments?
He just made he just made a very straight comment. He was like, I'm just trying to pave the way. We didn't want to, as coaches, we don't want to bring it up too much because, things like in that nature, they're really here for, one, to play a bowl game in Hawaii. Two, they're here to have a good time and learn the culture. And, we want them to focus on the bowl game, of course, in general. But you can just see how mature he is when he said, I just want to pave the way. He wanted to be different. Of course, we all know it's Deion Sanders. You're going to go to primetime, right? So it's just one of those things where, you just got to respect his decision and just keep not just keep in touch, but keep following the kid and see where he goes.
100%. And I think we're kind of seeing a turn with coaching, the relationship between head coaches and with student athletes in the terms of you're seeing a lot of legends of colleges becoming head coaches, just like Hawaii, they just hired Timmy Chang. Do you think that that's going to play a factor in recruiting in the future, that relationship, knowing that the guy that you're going to play for dominated what he was playing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The headline speaks for itself, right? For Timmy Chang, the native son is home, right? When I was a kid, I went to every game and he was playing and, he did really good things. I was there when he, as a young kid, I forget how old I was though, but he broke the record, right? Got to share that moment with his dad in the field. And it does play a big factor and a big role, especially in Hawaii, knowing that he's like a legend out here. So recruiting wise, yes, absolutely.
No, 100%. And then let's transition back to, your experience at the Poly Bowl. So you guys played up at Kamehameha, right?
Yeah, so we played at Kamehameha.
And that beautiful field overlooking that beautiful scenery. What was it like to be on the sidelines with these great players, 3, 4, 5 star athletes, these great coaches, and you are an integral part of the success of Team Jones?
No, it was great, and especially knowing that Kamehameha just got a brand new field, top-notch facilities, Abu Mafala and the staff and the athletic directors at Kamehameha really made us feel like home. I think the last time I played there was in like 2007, Campbell versus Kamehameha. And, it was just first class to me. They treated us really well, treated us with a lot of respect. And having that view overseeing the field, the Polynesian Bowl did a great job with the setup. It really felt like a traditional Polynesian Bowl. Granted that everybody would love it in a Aloha Stadium, but Kamehameha did a lot of great things. They put in a new track, they're really doing changing things up there, and giving the players and the faculty and staff a really good field to be proud of at the end of the day.
Yes. And you have a lot of experience playing in these local stadiums. Obviously, you played at Aloha
Yeah.
Stadium, especially as a former Warrior. You played, like you said, up at Kamehameha as a member of the Campbell Sabres. Talk about your high school days and what it was like to be one of the rising stars coming out of Ella Beach.
It was I was around a lot of good people, a lot of people that supported me, of course my family, and they had big support of me. I believe I'm like one of many that went to Campbell. My family is originally like a Pro City, Farrington kind of side. My dad's a Farrington graduate, of course. So, I mean, just growing up, I had a great supporting cast. I mean, it wasn't easy, of course, right? Being a five, at the time, maybe like 5'5", 5'6" wide receiver soaking wet at like 125 pounds or 135 maybe. I think my senior year I was like 150 and I was proud of it. But it was a grind. It wasn't so much adversity. It was just if you're gonna be the guy, you have to surround yourself with guys who are on the same level. I was surrounded by like a lot of players that I keep in touch with, like Mike Sellers, Daniel Masafilo. I mean, guys like his brother Matt Masafilo who played at Campbell. A lot of other guys that went to college as well, but they took real great pride in being an alumni for Campbell. And I mean, everybody probably feels the same about their alumni, but I'm proud to call myself a Saber. I'm proud to say I bleed black and orange, right? But those days with the coaches I had, like Tumuana Kennedy, Coach Andres, Coach Wes Pacheco, and especially because he helped me with my recruiting, Coach Amosa, Coach Wyatt, guys like that who really pushed and trusted me to be one of the leaders of the team with many other guys, of course, but, just to pave the way for the next generation. And now you look at Campbell High School now, which, they're playing in the open division, competing with the best of the best. You just feel, again, as a proud alumni.
No, you hit it right on the head. And one of the guys you did bring up was your head coach, Mosa. Can you go more to detail on what he meant to you, one as a player, and two, just him being a person and a father figure?
Oh, he really, I played against him when he was at AL my sophomore year, and then I believe that was the game where everybody kind of figured out who I was. And then the years go by, the season goes by, and then we get him as our head coach, and you're thinking, oh man, new head coach, like what kind of offense is he going to run? I was kind of one of the first guys to meet with him, right? And the first thing he said was, hey, I'm an alumni from here. I want to throw the ball more. I want to put you in places where you can help the team. And the famous word was team. How can we help the team? What can we do for the team? And he's such a team player. He values our input. We did a lot of different things than what people thought we would do because Campbell was known as a running team or more of an under center kind of wing T team, and we came up with like a spread offense. And for me, it was kind of not culture shocking or maybe just a little bit because I was a natural running back. Sometimes I play the slot receiver, but he just told me to trust him. And from that point on, when I trusted him, the rest is history, right? He came in, we won the D2 state, made it to the state semifinals. Then my senior year, made it to the playoffs. But as a father figure kind of type, he just cares about the players. He cares about the boys. No question goes unanswered. He has a straightforward answer. You know, he's a real loving and genuine person, and I thank that man for everything to this day.
I don't. I remember I seen him one time. I played I was like a fourth string defensive tackle when I played in high school.
Hmm.
And I was at Damien, we played our state quarterfinal at Campbell. I remember when he walked in because we were in your locker room. Just he's a bigger than life person, but definitely he had a lot of love for the game, for the people that play the game, for everyone that he was under. So what you just said is not surprising to me at all. I remember when I
Oh
played
yeah.
at I remember when I played at Campbell. One, as we all know, Eva Beach, especially during the summer, very hot. The field was very
Mhm.
tough, very hard.
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously, you played it offense and you got the ball a lot, so you were taking a lot of hits. You fell on the ground a lot. Do you think that
Hmm.
prepared you to play at the Division 1 level, having these type of conditions at Campbell?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like you just like I was surrounded by a lot of guys my sophomore year when I was on varsity, right? That had that mentality, and a lot of people talk about it to this day about having that dog mentality, right? And I personally didn't think I was ready for varsity yet, but my dad said, "Hey, you play, you don't play, you got to get used to the speed." And things just fell in place. But playing, it just reminds you of playing backyard football at Campbell's Field. You know what I mean? You're playing in the, like you said, in the summers, you're at the park. You got the boys knocking on the door when you're little. Hey man, we play football at the park. And then you're going out there. You're playing in rocks. You're playing in like weeds, not really grass. And it was just something that it does toughen you up a little bit. You know, I did get injured a lot of times because you know being in that statue of obviously getting the ball a lot, your body takes a beating from it. But I just had really good supporting guys on the O line, and supporting guys at receiver that would pick me up and keep me going. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping Campbell gets turf soon. It'd be nice, to see a nice field in Ever Beach, and but hey, and that's what we're known for. Campbell, we just roll up and show up, and we just play.
Absolutely. That's such a great mindset to have. I remember my dad told me this line when I was looking at school, at high schools and in college as well, from an education standpoint. But we're seeing a lot in high school football, a lot of players leaving to different high schools to try and get better
Mhm.
opportunities, better facilities, things like that. What do you think about this quote? The school doesn't make you, you make the school.
Um, I believe it. You just have to take pride in your school. I won't lie. I mean, I had a lot of options to transfer out, and I mean, of course, when you're a kid, you want to win a state title, right? You want to win. You want to win it all. And around that time, it wasn't really the biggest thing to transfer out and go to other schools right now. But of course, facilities play a big point. The education part plays a big point. But at that time, I would say in around that era when I played, it was, hey, like the truth, you make the school, like but my mindset was, I don't make the school makes me, in a sense. Like, it's kind of reversed, because I'm not putting my name on the map, I'm trying to put Campbell High School on the map. And that's the kind of mentality we had when we played. We want to make sure people know, like, hey, when Campbell comes to your school, or you go to Campbell, it's going to be a dogfight. You're going to play the best of the best. You're going to play, it's going to be a tough game, no matter if the score is 3-3 or 29-0. Campbell's coming, and we're going to play hard, and we're going to play fast, and we're going to be physical. So I guess, in a sense, I have to agree to disagree with that quote. But in a sense, I do agree, but I also disagree, in a sense, if that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, you're just more about playing for the front of the jersey and everything else will fall into place, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we didn't have names in the back of our jersey, right? So we just had to play for the C on the helmet. I think the year we had a C, or we had something. I forget what we had on our helmet. I think we had just like some original orange C on the helmet. And it's just, you're playing for the fans. Aunties and uncles. They don't got to be blood related, but you see them around Ever Beach, and at some point in time, they know who you are, and then they take care of you like family, and then they come watch you play Friday nights. So yeah, like, pretty much, you're just paying for the front of the name on a jersey.
Yeah, and then it's funny you mentioned that because I remember watching an interview you did with KHON, and you said that one of the points that Nick Rolovich, who was the offensive coordinator at Hawaii when you were at Campbell, helped
Mm-hmm.
recruit you to Hawaii, said if you attend UH, you have an opportunity to play in front of family and friends. What did that mean
Yes.
to you to be able to do that at the collegiate level?
It was something, I really looked into. Um, you know, being in the room with those guys and they talk about family, you know, I had offers to go play elsewhere. And don't get me wrong, they did make me feel like it was home. But when he sat me down and said, "Hey, this is home. Mom and dad don't have to fly thousands and thousands of miles to see you play. Your path and the history you write is here. So you should stay home." And I mean, I was sold already. It growing up as a young kid, and you get to watch like the 13-0 season in Colbert, and you get to watch the WAC championships. You get to watch, Corey Paredes knock the ball out of freaking, Colin Kaepernick's hand to win. You get to watch guys like Brian Moniz, who like is like my real good friend till this day, and you get to know Kelo Polaris, and you get to know all those guys in the locker room, and then you get to like coach youth football against like Elliot Purcell and all those guys, and it's just a brotherhood, right? And you just like I'm so fortunate that I got to stay home. I got to stay home and play for the hometown. Granted, my career was, not what I was hoping for, but it taught me a lot of life lessons, because I was really banged up when I played at UH. I mean, I played a good amount, how to help the team kind of player, like, it almost instilled in me. But, having my mom and dad in the stands, it was just a blessing.
No, you're absolutely. And that's funny that you bring up Corey Paredes because I will never forget that 2010 game against Nevada. Obviously, the
You
coming
can't forget it,
undefeated,
man.
right? And then Hawaii goes up early. Nevada starts coming back, and then boom, Mana Silva secures the game with the game-winning interception.
Here's the game.
Right?
It was a,
We
it
all,
was
we
a
all have
done
good
deal.
memories. Right? I thought Brad Muniz was going to win the Heisman in 2011. Obviously, injuries derailed that campaign and a bunch of other things that happened. But do you think that the current high school player, especially in Hawaii, has that same affinity with the program that we do after all the down years that occurred?
Um, it's tough to say, right? You got to look at it now since like the recruiting part of things now. It's like since the new era of guys came out, of course it trickled with Marcus Mariota. Then it went to Tuatonga Vailoa. Then it went to Chevin Codera, and then of course other big names like Manti Te'o, Robbie Toma. All these other guys here. The mainland is now realizing that Hawaii has football players, right? Hawaii has football players, and if Hawaii's not going after him, then of course they're going to go after him. But I just think the mindset is, we're in a different era where, when we were young, Hawaii football was Hawaii football, and now Hawaii football is still Hawaii football. It's just now, it's finally got the attention in the mainland about Hawaii players, right? There's a lot of guys that left back in the day that I know I've played against and went to the mainland. There's a lot of guys that I played with that stayed home. It's just the road we call recruiting. Hawaii football will always be Hawaii football. Hard-nosed football, play for the islands, play for your family. But now we're just in a different era. I feel like where now there's more camps, more clinics in the mainland. A lot of guys are traveling a lot. There's more opportunities for local boys to go out and seek, more attention. And it's just competitive, you know. But I think with the new hire, it's going to shake things up a little bit more in Hawaii for these local boys to stay home.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because obviously in the late '90s and then into the 2000s, there was a little bit of an exodus in Hawaii football. Guys like Dominic Raiola, Tunio Fonoti, who
Hmm.
went up to Nebraska. You had Olin Kruitz, Washington, and then you also had the name just slipped off of my head. But then you also had the guys staying home, guys like Vince Monawai, late great, rest in love. You had guys like the
Yep.
Sateles and players like that who stayed home. Then you look at a team last season, right? Players mainly from the mainland. Obviously, Chevin was starting quarterback, but if you look at everybody
Hmm.
around him, there really wasn't a lot of that Hawaii talent. Kind of talking more about Timmy Chang, and we'll get into it more later. Do you believe that him being here will help Hawaii kids stay home?
Oh, absolutely. 100% agree. I think, and in retaining, Abe Alamimian and, Jacob Bureau. I mean, Jacob Bureau, he's big with the recruiting. He contacts our head coach all the time. You know, he's a really great dude. You know, Abe Alamimin's a legend, of course, in Hawaii, right? Moving forward, and you know, of course, it's Timmy Chang, right? So, excuse me, it's more so you see the proof in the pudding. I say, in a nutshell. Excuse me. Timmy Chang did so much great things at Hawaii that he still talked about to this day. Like I know in this new era, there's kids like, who's Timmy Chang? I'm like, dude, YouTube him. And then you start seeing all these historic games, like, you know, him and Chad Owens coming back against Michigan State,
Mm-hmm.
you know, him playing Houston. And, you know, you see it and the kids are like, oh, this guy's a real deal. And then you see his coaching record, right? He went to the mainland, did his years in Nevada, you know, with Junior SMU and so forth and so forth, you know, but he always kept his local ties.
Yes.
He always stayed true to, you know, who he is and what Hawaii's done for him, you know. When everybody heard he's announced as the head coach, you know, he came on there and he gave his full Hawaiian name. You know, he didn't have to do that, but when he did that, that's saying something. That's an underlining saying like he knows his roots and he knows what he's doing. You know, he's gonna bring in a different type of feel. Of course, nobody can figure out the way he's gonna go about things because you know it's still fresh in Hawaii. What you know, he's a new head coach. But I expect big things. I expect a lot of, you know, local boys kind of maybe reconsidering, you know, maybe a lot of guys who are like Hawaii ties, like, hey, you know, like they may be doing some things over there. And it's not granted to say because, you know, a lot of people think it was a mainland team. But, you know, Hawaii has a buzz itself. A lot of mainland guys want to come to Hawaii. They want to play in paradise, you know what I mean? They want to come in and contribute and learn about the culture and, you know, start learning pigeon, you know, you know what I mean? So they can get the lingo down, you know. It's not all luau's and fancy dancing. It's more, you know, like Hawaii has that thing where, you know, they come in and they learn the culture, they end up maybe moving and living here. Like my good friend Alan Samson, we played together, you know, married one of my good friends from Meva Beach, you know, they have a beautiful family, just moved back home to Hawaii, you know, he's still coming back to Hawaii. You know, it's just, you know, Hawaii's you know, like they say, Hawaii's a brotherhood. You know, that was spot on when he said it's brotherhood, not brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. You know, it's just one of those things where you got to look at it like, you know, you just got to give the guy a chance.
Absolutely. Alan Sampson, that is a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, man, it's one of my good friends, man. It's one of my. I just saw him at the park the other day when I had my sevens practice, and he was training a couple of guys, you know. And I have the same UH shirt as him, and all my boys are like, "Coach, did you guys play together?" And he walks over, and we're talking, and we just bring up memories, you know, about being in the locker room and you know hanging out in college, you know, old games that we know that me and him played in, and you know, it was like we never missed a beat. That's what the brotherhood is all about. It's the memories and you cherish them till you know shoot till when it's time, I guess.
Yeah. I really glad you brought that up because it does seem that more times than not, a lot of UH players, regardless of where they came from, they come
Hmm.
here, they assimilate to the culture, and then they're doing like what you do. They're coaching, they're giving back to the community. You know,
Hmm.
I remember when I talked to Dior Scott, he talked about how he spoke to Devon Best several times. When Colt Brennan, obviously rest in love, Colt, he would go to UH practices, go Kahuku practices, things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rich Miano returned to his alma mater, Kaiser, to become a coach. What do you think it is about Hawaii or maybe UH that makes players just want to come back and give back to the community?
I just think it's the love from the fans. I think it's from the community. It's the fans, the community. You know that you know just everything about Hawaii is so giving and loving. You know, sometimes you know we get the good, we get the bad, but either way, like you know, Hawaii loves their football. I mean, for instance, Kuku is a football town, of course, right? We all know that. And then when you play at the University of Hawaii, it's like we're the only show in town. We don't have an NFL team. We don't have a pro team. Hawaii football is that team. And I think you know you learn that there's so much people that you know support you that you want to be that guy to give back. That's why I got into coaching. I wanted to I wanted to give back, you know, for all the coaches that gave me an opportunity, you know, if I was hurt, if I was, you know, second string scout team. It didn't matter. They showed me the same love and pushed me to be who I am today. So I wanted to be one of those coaches, hey, I want to help Hawaii athletes, groom them, help them get better, and help them through the process. I mean, during the recruiting process in high school, I maybe had my mom, my dad, two coaches helping me through the process. Now it's a different era. There's like recruiting coordinators, like recruiting services. There's all kind of things, and it's kind of like what I want to put myself into one day. Not sure when, but I want to help these young athletes know the whole process of trying to get to college, even from the ages of 10 and up. Starting them young and moving them forward.
Yeah, and you could speak firsthand about what it's like to be recruited and to attend a Division I program. You were a recruit under Greg Mackin in 2010. Can you kind of go into more detail on what it was like back in the day as a recruit, like how schools would approach you, what schools did approach you, and what are some of the tactics they use to try and get your commitment?
Oh man, I mean, these kids got it easy. They can make a huddle link and just post it on Twitter, and they can watch their film. I mean, I had to send my film on DVDs. You know, I mean, I had a lot of big time schools that I wanted to go to. Of course, like like Texas or like of course Alabama or something. And you thought like, oh man, I give it a chance, and then you send it in a Manila envelope, and it comes back, and you're like, damn, like they didn't get it or whatever. But there it was just back then. Hawaii had more football camps. That's what I think was the biggest difference. That's how the local talent would come out. They would showcase more so like during the recruiting period. Like, it's just in a different era. Technology just took over in this era, but in that other era, it was your like high school head coach was the one calling the schools about you. You have to go see your counselor personally. You couldn't just go online and download your transcripts and have it on you. You know, it was rough, but it was effective because you used to get things in the mail like, hey, we're very interested in you. Hope you have a great season. Like everything was through the mail and the cell phone. It wasn't text. It was mail and it was phone calls. So you had to, learn how to speak really proper and call coach say, hey, hello, sir. My name is so and so. I play running back at so and so high school. This is my height, this is my weight, this is my grade point average. Can I get an address to send you my film? Versus going on your phone and it's going like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Twitter. And then your inbox is flooded or it may not be flooded, and you have to go email the schools. You can message coaches on Twitter. It's the game is evolving, and I feel like it's getting easier and easier to get recruited, but it's also getting harder because a lot of people are picking up on the lingo and the technology. So that's why for me, as like helping these kids get recruited at Pro City, I take very good pride, and I don't want to say irritating college coaches, but I want to make sure that they know like, hey, I have kids that can play, to the point where they look at the film and they're like, hey, we'll be in touch with this kid. So, back in the day it was pretty tough because you had to like download these apps to cut your film. You had to use like Windows Movie Maker, right? You had to do that. You had to cut film. You had to buy like a stack of DVDs from Radio Shack, and you had to go burn DVDs, and then there's like little logos on it, like because you like. I mean, obviously you couldn't buy it because it was like $100 something, but you had to just do what you could, and use your media use your media class at school to have the teacher cut your film and make it nice, put music that doesn't have any words or slanders in it, and just to make it appealing. And then it's just different. But this new wave of how it's going, it's I think it's a good thing, but it's also very competitive in a sense. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I just witnessing, obviously huddle was the big thing when I was playing, and then recently they come out with things like the Air app and things that like
Yes.
it's Tinder for coaches and recruits.
Yes.
It's incredible to see. You obviously went a little more difficult path to get to UH, but you signed at UH as a 2010 recruit. You redshirt your 2011 season, right?
Yeah.
Then Gregory Mackin, he resigned, but I think we can be real. He was forced out
Yeah.
of the program,
It was.
right?
Yeah.
How were you notified that McMacken wasn't coming back?
Um, I actually got a text from him, not to lie. Like he said, hey, give me a call. And to all his guys he brought in before he left, he just told me, hey man, like I'm gonna be leaving. Don't know who's the next guy, but I want to thank you for everything. It was just the little things. Like I'm getting chicken skin thinking about it. It was a real manly, respectful thing that he did to let us know, like, hey, my time is done, but your time isn't. And then we had Rich as our interim head coach. And to be honest with you, I thought Rich was gonna get it. We're gonna hit the ball rolling, and then Norm came in. Um, and then Norm Chow. I mean, I still think he's a great guy. I still think he had a he had a positive motive of what he wanted to do. It just took him a while to get the guys he wanted in, you know, at a certain point. But just the process of like having a head coaching change after only going like 6-6. I believe we were 6-6. And you're thinking, oh, next year's the year we get guys coming back healthy. And then, it's just, I know what it feels like to have a head coaching change. Let's just put it
Yeah.
that way, and then, things was history after that.
That's interesting because Dior Scott also said a very similar thing with how he found out Coach Graham wasn't coming back. But it was sort of the same way. Let's go back a little bit, slow it down. I believe you guys are 6-6 headed into the final game of the season. If you guys win, you guys make
Mm-hmm.
it to the 2011 Hawaii Bowl, but you lose in Hawaii to BYU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Obviously, McMacken gets relieved of duty, as you say. I thought Miano was going to be the head coach. I think everybody thought he was the head coach. He was the guy in waiting. June Jones, assistant coach, assistant head coach under McMacken. Obviously, Chow gets hired. What was it like what was it like around the program when you knew that one, Miano wasn't coming back, and two, your offense coordinator Nick Rolovich wasn't coming back?
I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of heartbreaking, but you know, at the end of the day, what like I've learned, I didn't know at the time, but what I learned after I graduated and played, right? It's really a business, right? At that time I was full with emotions, like, oh man, like Rolo's gone, Rich is gone, some other coaches may not be coming back because you build a relationship with these guys for like, they recruited you, you got real close with them, and then actually, it was my dad that said, hey, it's pretty much a fresh start. You're coming off an injury, you're redshirted. Time for you to step in and get to know these new guys. They're gonna have their ways, and you just gotta go through it. So I mean, it was heartbreaking at first, but then of course you hear the name Norm Chow, and I'm a football fanatic, so you're thinking, oh, the Tennessee Titans, Norm Chow, and the kind of offense he runs, and then you get asked to move a position, right? You're moving positions to running back, which I played all high school pretty much until almost era, and you just had to adapt. I mean, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, but I can truthfully say now that I'm a little bit more mature and older, and realizing this coaching game is it's a pretty brutal business. That Norm Chow had good intentions. It was just things just didn't roll out that way. And I talked to him a couple of times, like after I graduated and played at coaches clinics and stuff, and we've been really, it's like we bring up the good times, we don't bring up the bad, right? He's doing a great job as an OC. I think he was the OC with the XFL. He did a really good job. I think Norm calls really good plays, but like we just say, right? Like life goes on. So yeah, it was kind of a crazy time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Norm Chow, his resume speaks for itself. Obviously, his time at USC, like you said, Tennessee Titans, uh, BYU under Lavelle Edwards and things like that, coaching guys like Palmer and Lana and so on. One of the things that he was criticized with was transitioning Hawaii from the run and shoot offense to a more pro style offense. From your perspective, what is the difference in those offensive systems, and why didn't it work? The pro style offense work in Hawaii?
Um, as a coach, looking from the outside in, it's just personnel, right? There's a lot of people say offensive linemen are offensive linemen, and I totally disagree with that because there's always different types of offensive linemen, right? You're looking for with that, West Coast kind of offense, a lot of downhill running and blocking, which is in the run and shoot. Everybody's pass setting. They're sliding, they're moving with the quarterback. So I just think it was gonna take time for Norm to get, I guess, not to say the players he wanted, but to get everybody on the same page. Because everybody just has a different philosophy. Like when you're set on your philosophy because it's worked for you, you're gonna bring in the coaching staff, of course, and the players you want to bring in for that. For instance, even like with Nick Rolovich, he wants to run and shoot. He's gonna bring in the receivers that have great point averages that can read coverage, quarterbacks that are gonna be on the same page, and offensive linemen that can move, real quick feet, good technique, versus playing in the West Coast. I mean, we had some linemen that were just some dogs coming downhill and just hitting. I mean, just like day in and day out, helping Joey get the yards he needs. Right. So it's just all what I would say your forte is as an OC. Right. So what you want, what you feel, you have to, kind of make it work. And, he did the best he could, transitioning guys from receiver, like big receivers that we had to tight ends, transitioning the slots, to running backs and maybe some guys on defense. He just tried to make things work. And I think he was kind of getting close to it, but I think he just ran out a little bit of time.
So when he transitioned you to running back, you were in a very crowded running back room. I believe, obviously, Joey Josefa. I think Steven Lackalaka was there during that time. I'm not sure, but was Sterling Jackson around during your time too?
Yeah, there was Sterling Jackson, there was Sterling, Joey, me, Steven Lackalaka was a freshman. I think we had one more running back. I don't know. Diosme St. just came after.
Right.
He came later.
So Diosme was part of that too. I remember because I watched the UNLV game. I was there live when the last second touchdown to Marcus.
Yeah.
So I forgot about him. What was it like to be put in such a crowded and talented running back room? What was going through your head? And can you talk about what it's like to face that kind of adversity?
You just got to go in there and work. It's just something like, it's just like a normal work day. You're going to go in there and you're going to just have to compete. You're going to have to find things that separate you. I had a great coach. At that time, he was coaching offensive line, but it was Coach Wiesahan before he took over the running backs the next year. But, he would always say, hey, man, like, you got to meet with me. I never really took that into account until like maybe week 2 of camp. And I went to go meet with him and say, hey, coach, like, what's going on? Like, you need help with anything? Or he goes, no, I want you to learn what the offensive line is doing. And I was like, oh, okay. Sounds awesome. And then when I really got to learn what they were doing, it made my job at running back so much easier because I knew where they were fitting. I knew where the hole was going to be. If it closes, here's my, escape plan. And it started to separate me a little bit as that more of that scat back because I played slot receiver and, in the Rolo OC era. So I could catch the ball out of the backfield. I could go out and empty. I could do a lot of things. And it's just me studying the game. That's when I kind of learned, like, you really, really have to study the game. The more you know, the more valuable you are. Right. And then unfortunately after that, during the spring, tweaked my left knee after I just recovered from my right knee. Right. On a freak accident on a punt return. I mean, again, like, it's just so much crazy things went down. But the main thing I took away from that on my second knee injury was keep studying the game. Because when you come back, you're going to have to be ahead of them somehow, some type of way. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. And, your whole playing career in college can be defined by that word adversity. I want to walk people through your journey a little bit. Obviously, you redshirted in 2011. 2012, you missed the whole season, right? Due to injury.
Yeah, I missed the whole season.
Right? So you don't even see the field until after 2 years of being in college. What was that like to finally step on the field in a game for the first time? What was going through your head? What were you feeling?
Man, I was just happy to, just happy to be on the field again. You just kind of learn where it's like a lot of people when they injure both knees that they just call it quits. They just give up on the process and then I've seen a lot of guys medically retire and they're like, oh, no, I'm just going to finish and get my degree. But for some reason, it wasn't that I had something to prove to everybody around me. I just had to prove something to myself that, hey, I still can play. I'm going to play. I'm going to do my best. I want to go out there wherever coach needs me, and I kind of earned my way back on the field through scout team. Because, there were always, always talks like, hey, how's your knee? Like, how do you feel? How's your confidence? And, it was a lot of people don't hear it from the outside. They just think, he's hurt again. He doesn't play at UH. He's on the team. He's on the roster. He doesn't play. But, that's just some fans being fans. That's just some friends being friends, right? But, then, you just buckle up your chin strap every day and you just go out there and work. And then eventually it kind of got me back in the rotation, playing slot receiver, running back. I think I was bouncing around like every week wherever Norm needed me. Special teams for sure. Coach Demarest was like, hey, man, I'm going to get you on all these special teams as much as I can. You can contribute. Probably one of the best special team coaches I had. There was a sense of belief in there in me that, I worked hard, stepping on the field. I mean, it was just a blessing to be back. I told myself if I do junk, I do junk. If I do good, I do good. But man, it's been 2 years. I need to get back on the field somehow. So I just found every avenue I could. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of mental health things going on. The question is why me? Why me? Well, why did I get hurt again? Or stuff like that. But then when you have teammates like that surround you in the locker room that are just so positive with you, I had a lot of great teammates at that time. Harold Maleni, man, Kaiko Woosley. Yeah, so man, I can name like probably that whole roster that every day was like, hey man, how's the knee? How you doing? You good? You ready to get back out there? I heard you got cleared. And when I got cleared, a lot of people were like, dude, you're cleared. Like, let's go. Like, let's get you back on the field. Like, this is one of those things where they just kept me motivated, positive. And when guys started getting hurt, unfortunately, that's when I just had to kind of step in and take a couple of roles, even if it was just blocking on offense or it was short little bubble routes and hitch routes, like, special teams. I mean, I even volunteered to play defense, but I kind of told Coach Norm, I was like, yeah, if you put me at corner, I'm not really the greatest defensive player. So I don't think that's a good move, but if I can get on the field, I'll get on the field. So it was good. It was a growing up experience for me at that point.
Gotcha. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was obviously college football is a business, and you do have to adjust and grow up in a bunch of different ways. One of the things about the
Mm-hmm.
Norm Chow era is there was a lot of inconsistency at one, who was playing quarterback for UH, and two, who was calling plays for UH. He had a multitude of coordinators and quarterbacks during his time there. What was it like to, as a receiver and a running back, to transition from Strav Schroeder to Ikaika Woosley to Taylor Graham,
Mm-hmm.
back to Schroeder, back to Woosley, then Max Whittick came in for a little bit. What was that like?
Um, Now I'm gonna need one of these for this. Um, it's it's tough as a receiver because you build a chemistry right with certain guys. Like again, I had to learn what did these guys like to throw, where should I be, what are they thinking when I run this route, how do they like my angle when I play running back to get the handoff, do I need to change things, and I wouldn't. When you're in a room with so much talented guys, like I to this day, I love Sean Schroeder. Excuse my language, but if anybody gets offended by the word Howley, but that is one tough Howley. That is one tough Howley. To this day, that guy, I give that guy so much credit. But man, I love that guy. He built confidence in me. He was real hard nosed on me because he needed me to be here instead of there. Keiko Woosley, I mean, shoot, I love that guy too because he would take a chance on sometimes in practice, like, hey man, like even just triple covers, I'm gonna take a chance. You know, and then you had the other guys. I didn't get to play with Max. I was in camp with Max before I departed, before I came back with the Rolo era because of things going down. But Max was a good guy too. I mean, there's a lot of stipulations about him too. And then, but we had really great quarterbacks. I just think the consistency was not there because of just confidence, not with the players, but just like who they were confident in off the jump. It's a tough gig when you're like a quarterbacks coach. Because when you're a quarterback's coach, you're trying to figure it out, right? Who's the guy? And you have that much talent in a room, and it may overwhelm you, it may not. Like, it's one of those things where like you don't like, okay, this is my guy. He's the next guy. But they're all talented. They're all great. To me, all great quarterbacks. A lot of people can say what they want to say, but I love all those guys through the whole era, and I got their backs 100%. But I'm gonna say it again, Sean Schroeder, if you hear this, bro, you're a one tough Howley.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching his first game ever at Hawaii against USC, and to put it lightly, he was getting lit up every play, and it didn't matter. Get up, he run the next play, and unfortunately, it ended in a loss. One of the things I'll never forget about him is when he led the comeback against Fresno State. I forget what year it was, but you could just tell he had the desire, and I wish it could have worked out better, but no, definitely a lot of love for Sean Schroeder.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When Norm Chow came in, he did something that's kind of different, where he took off the names from the back of the jerseys his first year, and then obviously he brought it back the second year. How did the team react when he told the team that you guys weren't gonna have the names on the back of your jerseys?
I mean, for me personally, it didn't matter to me. You know why? Because I mean, all through high school, you don't have a name on the back of your jersey. So honestly, that kind of motivated me for everybody to figure out who I was and to figure out who my teammates were, like how we gelled. Some were very upset because they take good pride in playing on the name on the back, right? They take really good pride in that, and obviously I do too. Don't get me wrong, but that's just that Campbell mentality that I had, was like, hey man, they never had a name on the back of my jersey, so we can go with it. But then you kind of realize, like, through the years of playing at UH, that the name really, really mattered, right? Because, you're playing in front of family and friends. People take a lot of great pride. So, I mean, people were upset. People weren't. At that time, we just wanted to play football. Like, we just wanted to strap up our cleats, strap up our helmet, put our shoulder pads on, and just play football. We could have gone out there with, highlighted pink jerseys with green logos on them and just played football. That was just it. But now I can admit some guys are a little upset, some guys weren't, but they didn't really. It really wasn't a distraction for us at the time.
Gotcha. So I know we talked a lot about the Norm Chow. I'm going to finish up with one last question about it, which is kind of a personal question. When Norm Chow was head coach, he, like I said, he had a bunch of different offensive coordinators. In one offseason, he brought in a guy named Aaron Price to be the new offensive coordinator for UH. Price departed from UH in the offseason. They said that he was not fired. He did not resign. He left for personal reasons. However, other reports came out that said he wasn't a fit and thus he left. Can you speak about that and what you know from a player's perspective?
I love Coach Price. Like we were excited to have him. A lot of people go through a lot of different things, and for me personally, I kind of reached out to him when the news came out, and all I said, "Hey, Coach, I wish you the best. Appreciate our time together." He had a great mind for offense. The things that he was gonna do to try to change up a little bit of what Norm does, a little bit more creative, a little bit more here, a little bit more flair. But like, to speak upon that, it's just something, honestly, will never go unanswered. There wasn't a direct, like, hey, he's let go, we gotta get a new guy. Right? Oh yeah, he's gone, so we have to part ways. It was just he had to leave for his own reason. So it was kind of heartbreaking because we kind of bonded with him in those like maybe 2 months. But if he's ever out there and he's coaching again, I hope you're being creative and moving on.
100%. So let's transition. You said, obviously, due to various reasons, you didn't play in the 2015 season. In your K-1 interview, you said that you thought you were done playing football. You became a coach at Pro City, and you're ready to move on into your next journey. Nick Rolovich gets hired in 2016, and you say that day you drive down to the football facility. Why did you decide to come back to the team and try and play again?
Well, it was a conversation that I had with one of my players here at Pro City. It was something like, his name's Israel, and in practice I used to still strap on my cleats and show examples how to run routes and work out with the team, and he said, "Coach, why'd you quit?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I quit, but I really didn't quit. I walked away because it's from my situation, I just felt like, with a new OC coming in, then I wasn't being treated fairly. I given my love and support and did whatever every coach ever asked me to do, and it just wasn't budging, you know. And then it came to that point where he said, "Coach, I think you still got it. Like, don't you want to finish?" And then the word "finish" stuck with me. So long story short, I'm at work. I'm working at commercial plumbing, kind of getting the itch to go back and play. I won't lie, I'm playing flag football with our company team, Team Damage. We're having fun, we're just hanging out at the park, and everybody's like, "Man, you still got it, dude. Like, I don't know why you stopped playing." So I started to investigate more into the NCAA. Like, hey, like I tore my ACL twice. I got a small minor surgery on my right knee to clean out some cartilage. Like, what do I need to do to get a year back? They're like, "Oh no, you have 2 years, but this would have been your second year." Because I graduated in 14, right? Before Rolo came in, the last era of the Norm era. So I call my doctors and like, "Yeah, man, we have all your paperwork ready to go." So I go to the compliance, not knowing who's the next head coach now. Like at this point, the backstory of this, I never knew who the next head coach was. I thought it was gonna be Chris Naoli. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try and go back. Like I'll walk on or do whatever I need to do to get back on the team." So I put my paperwork in. They're working on things, and then Nick Rolovich gets hired. And mind you, I still had Rolo's number because I wanted to transfer to Nevada, but due to some reasons, they wouldn't let me transfer. So that's when I walked away. So I call him and I'm like, "Hey man, you on the island?" He's like, "Oh, just got in. I'm at the office." I leave our job down in, I think we're at Ward, right by the movie theater by Dave and Buster's. I drive to the school and I told him, "Hey, I might get a year back." He goes, "You in shape?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in top shape. Like I'm not as fast as I used to be because I'm older." I told him, "I don't care if I'm on scout team. I don't care if I'm third string at this point. I just want to say I finished." He says, "Cool, keep me in the loop." Couple days go by. I'm eating at Zippy's, eating with my family at Zippy's. I get a call from Amanda, which I love her to death, and Richard Green, I love them to death. The compliance people, they're amazing. She goes, "Hey, congratulations, you got a year back. So you might want to go talk to Rolo about how you're gonna come about things." Mind you, now spring ball's going on, right? Spring ball's in session. I get up to the office and he already knew. So he was like, "So you're coming to summer camp, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "No promises." I was like, "All you gotta make me a promise. I don't care what number I get, is that I'm back on the team. I'm gonna finish and we're gonna turn this thing around." And he was like, "Sold." So, granted that, I still had some juice left. I call it juice. I had some juice left, but I was surrounded by some great dudes, man. Like Dylan Colley, John Ursua, Ammon Barker, Marcus Kemp, McCall, Camonte Stevens, Divine, Kalakaw Timoteo. And it was a battle, but I missed that. I missed that competitive nature. I missed, getting up early knowing that, okay, I gotta outlift this guy. Or I gotta outrun this guy. I missed that whole process. And it was tough when I was working because a lot of guys would be like, "Oh, hey, you played at UH, da 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 da." And then I went to go back, and I had a lot of my real good friends like, "Dude, you're an idiot." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Dude, you're working at a great job. You make great money. You can get into the union. You can start having a living and stuff like that." But it was like, man, I just love football. And at that point, I always tell Nick Rolovich, like, I shoot, man. I text that guy all the time. Like, I thank him, like, bro, you saved my life. Because everybody thinks everything was, fine and dandy. Like I was okay with not playing, but I was in a dark place. I was in a place where, like, man, I missed the game. Like coaching high school football is what kept me going. Obviously, taught me how to coach, taught me how to flip a switch. Like I told in that interview, and like I want to go out there and do it for the kids, but now I got to teach the kids because I had great coaches. And it's one of those things where, hey, I'm so glad I did it. I'll never go back and change time. The path was the path. The history is the history. But UH football saved my life, pretty much, in a nutshell. That's why I have so much pride for my alumni.
Yeah, I love the fact that you brought the word finish. one, it just shows the mindset that you have, but two, your story is very similar to a lot of players, be it personal issues or injury issues, whatever happens, right? A lot of guys don't get a chance to finish. Not only did
Yeah,
you finish in your last college game, you had a collegiate career marked heartbreak, tough luck, disappointment, lack of team success, whatever negative thing could happen did happen. However, you walked into a Aloha Stadium, you went to the locker room, and where your locker sat was your jersey with the Hawaii Bowl patch on it. What did it
crazy.
mean, right? What did it mean for you to walk out of that stadium a Hawaii Bowl champion?
Oh man, I still get goosebumps about it. I still wear my ring, and it was just something that me, McConney, a lot of those seniors, Corey, Marcus Camp, McCall, a lot of those guys that were seniors, you know, after we played Cal, I think in Australia, it was a nail biting game. It was a close game, right? You're playing Cal in Australia. Of course, it's crazy. McConney came to everybody and said, "Hey, man, come on now. We're better than this. We got to finish. If we're gonna change this around, we got to do everything." And we had nail biters. I mean, Fresno State, we blocked the kick. I mean, we play. I believe who do we play? We play Air Force at Air Force, and it comes down to my really great friend Jalen Rogers with the interception to seal the game. And it's just those moments, like, dude, I'm chicken skin all the way across. And you just take those life lessons of, like, it's about finishing. It's about, how hard you worked. Like, that's I think the biggest honor, like, anybody never thinks it's the biggest honor, but that Fresno State game, I was named like Aloha Player of the Week or something like that because I had a small role in that game on special teams and on offense. But I was telling Nick and Stutzman and all those guys, like, hey man, like, dude, I'm picking their defensive signals. I know where they're gonna send the blitz. I know where the rush is coming from, and they like took my input serious, and we figured it out, and we came out with the W. So walking out of the Hawaii Bowl champ, and you walk into your house and you still see that jersey hanging up with that patch to remind you. And it's one of those things where, like, that's the biggest moment I'll ever cherish. Like me and RJ Hollis holding the trophy like this. He's had it up in the air. I'm too short, so I'm trying to like touch the trophy with Damian Packer in the back. And just that memory right there was just amazing. Like the highlight as much as was just playing special teams against Middle Tennessee. To have your coaches come up to you and like, hey man, all the hard work you did on scout paid off. To be appreciated about the little things that you do carried over into life now. Just it to this day, man, I get that ring polished every month. I wear it with pride. I wear it when UH plays. I can't fit the jersey no more. I wish I could. It's a little bit tight, but it's just something that you just take pride in. You made it, even if it's the Hawaii Bowl, no matter what. You got to play in a little stadium. That's the biggest thing.
I want to walk through kind of like those final 3 game sequences because it was real touch and go if UH was going to qualify for the Hawaii Bowl at that point. I believe you guys were 4-7 coming into the Fresno State game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you guys lose Fresno State,
we're out.
You guys aren't going to qualify, right?
No, yeah, we weren't going to qualify, so we had to win out the 3, I believe. We had to win out the last 3, and winning out the last 3. If not, if we only won 2, we'd have to wait for, I forget what team had to lose. Somebody in the conference had to lose in order for us to be like somewhere in the numbers and the polls and all kind of stuff. But you know what? Like, to be honest with you, Rolo just had the path of, hey man, let the chips fall where they fall. Let's focus on us, right? And when we found out about the Hawaii Bowl, we were actually at our banquet. Yeah, we're at our banquet, and he's honoring the seniors. Robert Kekala, rest in peace, man, is making jokes like, I caught passes from Nick Rolovich and Timmy Chang, and I'm catching passes from, I'm just joking around with these guys, and then Rolovich stands up and he's just like, everybody time out. And we're like, okay, like, what's going on? walks up on stage. He goes, just notified now, due to the record we finished with and the numbers. Congratulations, boys. See you at practice on Tuesday. We're in the Hawaii Bowl. And that place goes freaking crazy. I mean, boosters are going crazy. Fans that buy tickets are going crazy. Our seniors are going crazy. I mean, I think RJ Hollis was damn near in tears because he gets to play one more time, right? He gets to play one more game. You know, you got the coaches, you know, hugging, and, you know, we're hugging our position coaches. And now everybody's like, hey, man, like, let's wrap this up. Like, can we practice tomorrow? And they're like, no, we have rules and regulations we have to follow, you know. And it was just good to hear, you know, we had to just, you know, put all our trust and, you know, faith into Nick Rolovich. And that's what I hope everybody does with this next head coach, put all their trust and faith and let everything play out. But, you know, it was great. It was stressful. Trust me, it was very stressful. You're like wondering, like, oh damn, like who's gonna lose? Like we're in the locker room watching the Mountain West games. Like, come on, man, I need you to lose. Like we're trying to go to the bowl game, but it worked out the way it worked out, and the rest is history.
Yes. I want to go back to that Fresno State game. More importantly, the kick, because obviously Fresno had a really bad season that year. You guys were going into Fresno, need to win. It comes down to a 20 to 30-yard field goal, like what should be considered a chip shot, right? So
Oh yes,
realistically, the only way you
absolutely.
guys can win is if the kicker shanks it, a bad snap, or obviously block, right? Which
Block.
a block is probably the least likely in this situation. Shank is probably number
Yeah.
one, right? However,
Mm-hmm.
you guys block it with no time left. What's going through your head when that happens?
Um, man, dude, we're on the side. I think I turned and I looked at like Dayton Fruits and I was like, "Are you watching?" He's like, "No." I was like, "You need to watch because I can't watch." But you know, we had a good game plan. We put like our bigger, like Amin Barker. We put I forget, man, I think that Amin Barker, Marcus Camp. We put all our big boys up front, and we just told them to jump. Like, dude, you just jump, and you need to just aim at the ball. And we're just like, hey, if it. And then I remember McConaughey saying, "Hey, man, if fate wants us to win, it's gonna win. We didn't come all this way to lose." So on my head's turned, and then Dayton Fruits was watching. And then all I hear is Keelan Evelico scream, "It's blocked!" And I went, "What?" And we stormed the field. I think I'm tackling one of the big boys on D line. You know, Tui Young was running around screaming his head off. And Nick's just like everybody's trying to dunk the cooler on Nick, but everybody's so freaking excited that the cooler falls, all the water spills. We go in the locker room and it's just like chaos. It's like beautiful chaos in the locker room. Like everybody's so stoked, excited, like he's damn near in tears. And he said, now we just gotta let everything lay where they're gonna lay. The plane ride home was, of course, amazing. You know, everybody's so stoked, and now we're just waiting. And I think the most stressful part was the waiting process. Everybody's online checking for guys' records and their bowl records, and we're trying to figure out what bowl game would take us, you know, six and whatever team, and which would know. And it was just a fun process to be a part of. You know, you just never know.
Yes.
But like he told us, let faith determine where we're gonna be, and the rest is history, man.
Yeah, well, faith did play a big part because on senior night, you guys play UMass, right? And then I
Yes,
believe you guys scored a touchdown late, but Rigobert Sanchez, great special team for the Colts now, but he shanks the extra point, right?
yeah. And you're like, oh, and we're all like, man, Rigo, like it's just not Rigo. You know what I mean? Like we all know Rigo is the clutch guy.
And then UMass right drives downfield. They're on the opposite side of the 50. Then I believe you guys pick it off. When that happens, now you guys have a legitimate shot. And you guys win on senior night. What's going through your head? Like, if this is the last part, you did finish. Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, at that point, to be honest with you, man, me personally, and a lot of guys will tell you, they laid their body on the line that game. Kick off, me and my man Matthew Broman running down trying to hit people. We were like, if we're not gonna go out, without putting the blood, sweat, and tears on this field. Again, just it happened the way it happened. And a lot of guys were, so supportive about, like, hey, if this is our last game, leave no regret on the field. And a lot of us did that. A lot of us, told the younger guys to do it too, right? So In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm just, if this is the last one, this is the last one. I'm good. I'm good with it, right? But knowing you have a chance to win, it changes the mindset at halftime. Like, oh, no, 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 we're going to win this game. We're going to do everything we can to win this game. And that's what happened. We won the game. And, no matter all the good and bad mistakes, everything worked out for the best. And shoot, Sheraton Bowl champs, here we are.
Yeah, and in that game too, you guys faced a lot of adversity. You guys were down 14-0 early to Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee
Mhm.
State had a talented receiver, Richie James Jr., who plays in the NFL.
Yeah.
When you guys were down 14-0, did the mindset ever change on the sideline, or were you guys just still in it, just ebbs and flows and things like that, or what was going through your head?
It was actually the most very soft-spoken person on our team, which plays in the NFL now, Trayvon Henderson.
Hmm.
He brought the team on the sideline, and he was just going ape crazy. He was just like, dude, they're not better than us. They're not better than us. We're better than them. Defense, we have to tighten up, and offense, we need to roll. Special teams, we got to be better. And from that point on, when he had the pick six, that's when that momentum shift is hit, and everybody's like, "Hey, if Trayvon believes, we believe." And dude, the rest is history. After that, John Ursula goes off, Tui goes off. That special teams call from our special teams coordinator at the time, running the fake, getting the first down,
Yes.
and me and Ryan Tuiso's on top of the pile, like trying to protect Ammon so they don't freaking pump the ball out during that catch. Everybody had a big role in that game. And, we just have to believe, if you're on the sideline or not, the energy was just so different. It was more different than any game we've ever played, because a lot of us are like, hey, man, we're not going to the National Football, college playoff. So we're going to treat this like the natty, and we're going to play. And everybody believed. And, a lot of guys played with injuries. A lot of guys played through like tough times. A lot of guys are banged up, but we just laid it all on the line again. And like I said, man, the rest is history. It's just good to bring up old times.
Yes, and if anybody is kind of curious of what Samson is referring to in that special teams play, I suggest you look it up online. It is the oddest thing I have ever witnessed in my life. A diagonal snap to a person that's horizontal to the punter, who then throws it right to one of special teamers for a first down. You said that you guys get in there, bring them down. I just want to say that you guys need to look it up. There's no accurate way to describe it. It is whoever thought of that, your special teams coordinator, genius. I just want to say that.
Oh, guy's a genius. He's actually Dick Tomey's son-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, genius guy. Love that guy to death. But yeah, man, if you don't YouTube it, trust me, it's there. It is there.
Yes, like I said, you guys have to. It is the oddest thing I've ever seen in my life. So we talked a long time about obviously your journey, and then you finish your champion. I want to put this in context for other people that may not know. Hawaii at that point didn't win a bowl game in 10 years. The last time they won a bowl game was 2006 Hawaii Bowl. They lost the 2007 Sugar Bowl, 2008 Hawaii Bowl, 2010 Hawaii Bowl, and then obviously you guys didn't make a bowl game for a while. So just want to emphasize the importance of what you guys did and how you and the seniors put the UH program on the track to success that ended up with that 10-5 season in the final year of Nick Rolovich. So just wanted to let everybody know how big of a game that was. Let's talk a little bit about after the game. Obviously, celebration. You talk about McCunny. And McCunny, if you guys gotta look that up, because he has a phenomenal story about fostering, I think his cousin's kids or his nieces and something like that.
Yeah.
And then moving, and so you gotta look that up. Obviously, you talked about Corey Rasmussen, guys like that. You guys win. What is it like in the locker room, going back to campus, all that stuff?
It was great. I mean, for some of those older guys, we're all trying to plan to get together. Obviously, we just want to hang out with family. I think right after the bowl game, I went home because it was Christmas Eve, I believe. I went home. I'm not gonna lie. My family's all at the house, and they're all like, "Oh, congratulations!" I just like sat in my room and just like try to soak it all in. Like, oh, then you have to think, what's the next move, right? So, the next move, of course, is everybody's getting ready for pro day, right? And in my head, I get, it's a long shot, but you can probably do your best and say you got it over with, and you go forth. So the next move, I mean, for me was I went to I did my pro day, excelled in a lot of the events, obviously. Didn't have an agent, trained my butt off, but they're called Phase One Hawaii out in Hawaii at the time, and they're still going to this day. The next move was, at the time, went to the mainland, did a couple arena football tryouts, kind of was being my own agent, right? Putting my film out there, practice film, game film, whatever I had. Signed with the team in Bloomington, ready to hop the plane. The team folds. I go up to Georgia, right? And then I get signed by the High Country Grizzlies in North Carolina. I get up there, and things were great. Things are going good. And then I just didn't feel like it was home, right? So I went back to Georgia, played in a small tier arena league with the Peach State Cats. Then the XFL comes out, and it's like, oh man, it's like then not the XFL, sorry, the AAL came out, the Legions of American Football League, the AAF or the AAL, well, one of the two.
Right.
So I do the tryout there, and prior to that, everybody's like, hey man, like, how's your shoulder? Because during the Middle Tennessee game, like I ran down and kickoff, I just blew up two of the probably the biggest guys. I got blown back, but tell everybody I blew them up. And from a shoulder give, so I'm like, oh, whatever, it's just my shoulder. So I go to the tryout, right? I do really well. I mean, like, 40 was, sub 4.4, 4.5. Did all the drills with the running backs, receivers, caught a lot of great passes. Then you get to that interview process, and there's a lot of teams in there. I mean, like, they're trying to get the next best thing. And then the injuries come up, and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Doctor comes in, feels my knees, thumbs up. I'm like, yes. No, I'm in pretty good shape. Not close to like my best shape, but pretty top up there. And then she goes to grab my shoulder, and I was like, huh? And I was like, yeah, at the University of Hawaii said you hurt your shoulder. And I went, damn. Damn. So they tell me, your shoulder. And they explained it, and one thing about the professional side, they're like really transparent. And man, you're like 24, 25 years old, banged up shoulder. Maybe a practice squad kind of thing. Or, we can go get a 22-year-old or 23-year-old who's fresh out of college that's looking for an opportunity to get cut by an NFL team. And I said, hey, you know what? I've learned and matured that business is business, right? But then it brings you back to, of course, like you said, like after the Hawaii Bowl, when you sit down after the game and you're just like trying to soak it all in. And then you're like, okay, what's the next move? And then, the next move was I wanted to coach football, right? Wanted to get in the coach side, coach at a small prep school, collegiate prep school, post-grad. Got to learn how to recruit, was the OC, assistant head coach. Got to learn how to run a team. And, you just bring all the memories from the locker room and the coaching styles that you've been coached with to the next level. And I wasn't thinking, to be honest with you, when I do my pro day that I'm NFL bound. I'm going to the league. I'm going to get drafted. I just knew I had to go through the process to learn more about myself. So then again, it brought me back to that moment, sitting, in the locker room after the Hawaii Bowl. You're enjoying everybody with Max Holloway because he was the captain, the co-captain, whatever, celebrity captain of the game. You got BJ Penn. You got other guys in there, and you're just like, man, I'm trying to soak this all in. But then when you leave the locker room, the reason why I bring up what I'm doing now is because when you leave that locker room, it always reminds you of like the journey you had to take to get there. And then when you check that box, there's a whole new journey waiting for you after this. So what is the next step? I can't go back to play college one more year. I can't, I'm going to miss the memories in the locker room and things to cherish and things to put into perspective to everybody. So it's just something, like through the process of all of this, that's led me to this moment today. Sometimes I still do sit down in my room and think, man, like this has been a crazy, crazy journey of what happened from high school to college to coaching at a post grad college school to and now a high school coach trying to help kids get developed and better. And it's just a whirlwind, man. So, to know, like, a lot of people thought we went out there and just partied our, partied our colas off after that game. A lot of us were just like, damn, we went out there and beat Middle Tennessee. And then we had to realize, damn, Wednesday we got to go clean out our lockers. Now we just set the next. Now we just have to set the foundation for the next team, what they're gonna do, and the team after that, and then the team after that. So we were just proud, we helped put Hawaii football back on the map at that point.
Yes. And we've had this whole conversation. You are UH football through and through. And now you're a coach, obviously, offensive coordinator at Pro City. You helped out as a coach during the Polynesian Bowl, and you have all this coaching experience. More importantly, along with the experience, you are a collegiate graduate. And the reason why I bring that up is because that's one of the requirements to be a coach at the collegiate level. You've recently expressed interest in returning to UH as a coach. Can you talk about some of the things that you want to do and what you can bring to that program if given that opportunity?
Just with the opportunity of the local recruiting and also in the mainland recruiting, when you coach postgraduate football, the roster is only there for about 13 months. So it's a hustle, it's a grind. It's a small thing that, you bring in guys that have big offers and you have to get them right academically to get them out. When I moved home, I trained a lot of great athletes with other trainers like, Kave Johnson, Chad Owens is doing training too. Brian Moniz training kids, Kaylee Tilton. And you get a relationship with these guys and you're thinking like, hey man, like, you see it from a high school coach's perspective too. You coach against them and you're like, man, damn, dude, like why isn't UH after this kid? You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of biased because I played there at UH and I want every great local talent to stay home. But what I bring to the table is I'm just full of energy. I'm really prideful of my alumni. I take pride in coaching. I take pride in doing what I'm asked to do. And, in me being on the younger side of coaching, I'm in that new era of, it's you just kind of have the ways of, how can we help change this program? Meaning I'm not saying at UH in general, but just any program, right, that you want to apply to. I can't say the resume speaks for itself, because, I'm still learning and growing as a coach. I'm still adapting to new things. I'm still learning from great guys, throughout my process of coaching. But it would just be a blessing to return home, right? Just even though I wasn't the biggest name at the University of Hawaii, but, I'm there because I see a lot of good talent that can help this program and put it back to new heights. Build off what these boys did the past 2 seasons. Now, UH football did a great job, first year with COVID making the bowl game. Towards the ending of the season, beating Wyoming and, beating a couple of tough teams, keeping up with a lot of tough teams. I don't want to say that I'm, what Hawaii football is all about, but I know the feeling of changing head coaches. I know the adversity these boys are going, they're going to face. I know the feeling, probably what they're feeling. I want to be more of an advocate to them. Like, hey, like we can get this ball rolling. You got to believe in the system, got to trust the process. So, I did apply. I'm just hoping, one day that, I can speak to Timmy and maybe Coach Earl and Coach Abe. Coach Abe was there when I played. And, I just love Hawaii football. I love everything about it. Like, again, it saved my life. It's saved who I am today. It makes me want to be a better dad, better husband, better coach. I want to make sure these boys know that, there is a lot of alumni that support, them all the way around, no matter if they're a coach or not. So, we shall wait and see. But, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't, then, hey, I'm good where I'm at. I'm still giving back to the community. I'm still learning as a coach. If it happens, I probably will be on cloud 9. But, there's just going to be a lot of work to do.
I just want to say thank you, Samson. Your journey, I didn't realize how complex, how interesting, and how many lessons you can learn from the road that you've been on. Since you
Mhm.
have this unique perspective, I just want to change it to kind of end a conversation. I'll get your perspective on a couple of things. Obviously, you talk about coaching being a business, and I want to go back to your high school days. One of the interesting decisions that Campbell High School made was to remove your head coach, Amosa Mosa, from his position in 2016. Amosa Mosa then went to Kapolei as the offensive coordinator. I believe now you mentioned that he's coaching youth football. What was going through your mind when you found out that the next generation of Campbell football players would not have Amosa Mosa as a mentor?
Um, to be honest with you, to me it was kind of heartbreaking because I mean I love that guy to death. Like every time I see him, we always have good conversation. Like he made such a great relationship with my family. Um, at the time we didn't know who's gonna be the next head coach, right? And a lot of those kids, he brought them in from the youth leagues. Like he really kept the community together, right? In a sense. And it was heartbreaking, but also I just felt for some of the players because they really got to know him and had a bond with him, right? It's kind of like you know him for your 3 years of high school, and then you come your senior year, you have a new coach, and I could kind of feel for the players too, because like I see them as like younger brothers, obviously, because they're now they're alumni, but they were playing at the time, and I reached out to him and said, hey, thank you for everything you did for the program, thank you for everything you've done for Campbell football, and can't wait to see you on your next venture. So it's just now the feeling of coaching change because I was actually in the coaching change when he came in. So I know what those players are going through. But Darren Johnson's right. He's doing a great job over there. DJ, I love that guy. He's so competitive. He's doing great things at Campbell. And things work out the way they do, but I'm also still coaching, giving back to the community. So
And I really love talking about coaching change because it's so relevant to Hawaii. What do you think Timmy Chang needs to do in terms of recruiting to keep the local talent here? And the reason why I say that is because I want to bring up one of the you talked to earlier, obviously Mariota going to Oregon, Tua going to Alabama. I remember to me one of the defining points of mainline colleges snatching Hawaii talent was when Jim Harbaugh at Michigan offered Soljay Maiava a scholarship as a freshman when he was at Kahuku,
mm-hmm.
right? So what
Yep.
do you think Timmy Chang needs to do to keep Hawaii kids in Hawaii? Especially when you got all these coaches trying to poach the talent from the islands on a consistent basis.
I was gonna put it straightforward, man. Timmy Chang just has to be Timmy Chang. If Timmy Chang has just passion and energy for this program. I mean, he's well respected. My senior year, I believe he was coaching at Mililani with Darnell Arsenal.
Mm.
And even as the opposing team, he was giving me tips and pointers. He loves Hawaii football. He loves Hawaii high school football. He's what like they said, like the native son is home. He decided to stay. You watch him play. He had the passion and energy. I mean, even when Nevada plays Hawaii, I mean, you've seen the clip all over TV. He's standing by the Hawaii locker room. He's shaking guys' hands and kids' hands that he's seen probably when they were in diapers, knows their families. He's homegrown, takes the culture to the mainland with him. Timmy Chang just has to be Timmy Chang. And I think he's doing a great job right now. I mean, you know, with what, his interview was great, very supportive. A lot of people are supporting him and backing him. He has great respect for his mentors, like June Jones and all those guys over there. So he's carried the culture wherever he went. Now that he's back home, I think the culture is going to be 10 times more passionate about Hawaii football.
Yes, I agree. From a personal standpoint, I was obviously on the June Jones training coming in, and I was disappointed with how everything went down. But I'm all for Timmy, like you mentioned, homegrown. He has the love, the respect, the passion. I know he's gonna give it everything that he has to the program. I want to end with this question. There are a lot of fans that support Timmy, but there's also a lot that are skeptical about Timmy. Do you have anything that you want to say to them?
At this point, the decision is made, and you know, No matter whose side you're on, we have to realize either one of the decisions. It's a Hawaii boy. It's another Hawaii legend that's back in Hawaii. I think at this point, we just support the boys in the locker room, of course, because it was a tough journey road that these kids had to go through this off season. And I say we just have to go full tilt. You know, I don't know what the saying is. I know it's brotherhood, but I think somebody like hashtag like Chang gang. I don't know. They have some weird sayings, but I'm all for it. If whoever's the next coach at the University of Hawaii, they just have to buy into it. Be super supportive. His family is from here. He's homegrown. He has a passion for the game again. And he's going to bring all the energy and love that he has because he's home. And the good thing is that he's home and not coaching somewhere else in the Mountain West. We have to play against him as a head coach because then, things get a little, shaken up a little bit. But, it's just good to have him home. It's good to have him back. That was one of the idols I, looked up to when I was in high school, when I was a little kid, because I was forced to play quarterback. So I tried to be like Timmy Chang. But then, I had to move to running back because I was getting over quarterback. But, hats off to him. And I know he's going to make the right decisions for his staff. He's going to bring in the right guys that's going to buy in. And, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty, can't put all the eggs in one basket for the change, but, it's going to be positive. It's going to be a good time to move. It's going to be a good time to be a Warrior.
Yes, no, I agree. So that comes to the end of our episode. I want to thank you, Samson, so much for being on the show. I want to let all the UH fans know that they'll be kicking off at home this next season against an SEC opponent in Vanderbilt. So it's very exciting times, and I just appreciate everyone for listening. Thank you again, Samson.
Hey, man, thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the support, out there. And, thank you guys for following me on Twitter and all the fans, for good or bad, man, we love you guys. It's just Hawaii football, and we're just, appreciative of what you guys do.
Yes. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Just want to say thank you once again. Thank you, Samson Anguay, for coming on the show. Thank you to you guys for listening. I just want to give a quick shout out to all the teachers and coaches out there who have given up time in their lives to teach and coach and allow our children to have access to these great programs and opportunities. If you guys want to see more, check out our YouTube channel, Midnight Sports Today. If you want to read more articles, check out our website, midnightsportstoday.org. You can click under the blog button, and there's a whole bunch of articles for you guys to read. Lastly, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at MNS Today. Once again, that's at MNS Today. We hope to be coming back to you with more content soon. Thank you guys so much. Bye.